Hello everyone, I'm Prashanti Bhupati from Reliance Industries Limited. It's my pleasure to join you all for INPSC 2021 in a virtual mode. The topic of my presentation today is on application of technical risk analysis in operating decisions. The content of the presentation is purely generic and based on the experience with process safety practices. And there is no specific content with respect to the Reliance Industries patentable information. A bit on business overview of Reliance. Reliance has the motto of growth is life, and process safety is one of our values as well. What is good for the nation is good for Reliance. With that in mind and societal value in place, we are able to diversify our business into the telecom, the retail, apart from our core, which is the hydrocarbon. And each one of these businesses pose unique opportunities also and risks also. That is how our consistent approach to handle the operating and strategic risks has evolved. So today's presentation outline would be like this. A bit of introduction with respect to the operating risks and how the technical risk analysis are handled, and what is an elevated risk situation, what are the dynamic risk situations we tend to handle as we operate the units, and what are some of the challenges that we have, and what are some of the good practices that we can adopt. So the broader definition of operating risks would encompass not only the HSE, the quality, it could be the asset failures, reliability, etc. End-to-end operations in the day-to-day operating of the units, whatever the risks that can hamper these goals are called operating risks. But among this whole chunk of risk information, process safety risks always have a special role because it is a make or break for the sustenance of business. Process safety is important. With that realization in mind, it is not only adequate that we identify the risks once in the unit operation and just leave it there. It is a day-to-day decision that we take on the risks that helps the business sustain. Some of the major incidents have revealed that it is no complacency is allowed when we are talking about process safety. If there is complacency, that means that the business can shatter any moment of the time. Then the brand value also doesn't make any sense. So what do we do about the risk analysis? Let us understand a little further. Typically, a reactive program of process safety would be like this. The risk analysis are done or revalidated only as per regulations. But proactive companies do have a frequency to assess those risks and also get revalidated. So typical frequency of PHA assessment, apart from the new project stage, is every 3 to 5 years. And for the SIL assessment or the LOPA techniques, which are the layers of protection analysis, it is a normal follow-up exercise to a PHA or a HAZOP session. QRA studies. Erstwhile, we had a protocol that QRA studies are meant for getting clearances to get a new facility. But the whole notion has changed now. QRAs are getting also revalidated when there are some major changes to the unit. So with that wealth of risk information at hand, do we treat them as static? Are they hyper confidential that the day-to-day asset facing crew cannot use them? No. We have to use it for the real-time decision making and also for operational decisions. There should be no other way to take decisions other than the single view to look at them, which is the risk itself. Each company today almost has got corporate risk matrix through which all of these risks can be assessed. But what are the typical use cases for making risk-based decisions? One is barrier defeats. Whatever the safety barriers that we have for the control of any HSE risks and process safety risks in particular, in a real life situation, we could find that malfunctioning instrumentation, malfunctioning relief device, etc. They they appear towards us, and then you may or may not be able to take a shutdown of the unit immediately. That is where we have to check what is the risk involved and then take a decision. And these decisions, whatever I am mentioning, are beyond the purview of regulatory compliance. Of course, we are bound by the regulations, but this is with respect to the process safety risk management. Inspection and maintenance deferrals. So there is a particular periodicity with which you have to inspect or maintain an equipment. Due to various reasons or situations that we have seen in the pandemic last year, we do not have the right maintenance resources to come and do that activity. We don't have the spares in place. The manpower wasn't available due to dynamic situation of restrictions, etc., etc. So if you have to defer, how do you take a call? What can be deferred? What cannot be deferred? That has to be a risk-based decision. Then emergency repairs. If you can run a unit with emergency repair, or you need to take a shutdown and complete replacement is required. So this is again a risk-based decision. Then you talk about any brownfield projects. Simultaneously, some construction is going on when your hazardous facility is operating. You could have complete non-availability of competent resources who normally you depend on. Let's say you call an expert to maintain your furnace or clean your tubes, replace your tubes, but now you do not have that person available or the team available. What do? These are certain real-time problems or situations which we have to tackle. So these are our reality. How do we use the technical risk analysis in taking such decisions? First and foremost, our endeavor always is that all these risks should have been envisaged when the risk studies are done. So typically, if you're talking about a workplace or a activity-driven process safety risks, the task risk assessment should have identified, because you combine there the known hazards and also the condition-based hazards. They should have been identified, or the PHA studies, apart from the normal operations, even the transient conditions have to be envisaged. Even the third-party risks for some companies, they are part and parcel of the PHAs. And this information gets over and gets collated into the risk registers also. The next triggers or inputs for such kind of risks are operating monitoring. Because you have a daily shift-based reviews, you can have certain deviations which are of serious nature, which need actually immediate decisions. Or there could be safety rounds or audits which reveal some serious issues or concerns which need immediate attention. There could be scheduled checks on equipment. There could be learnings from incident investigation which throw certain high priority issues with respect to the loss of containment. Then there could be verification practices, whether the right quality assurance of metallurgy that is coming in is adhered to, whether the right specifications of raw materials are being followed, etc., etc. If there are any such gaps identified from any of these triggers, they actually pose the problem statement, which are the elevated risk situations. And how do you handle them? First and foremost, look at the whole bigger picture, whether the severity level in the risk component is increasing or the likelihood level, or both. If it is increasing, how much it is increasing, whether it is one step change or higher, we can assess through the risk matrix, we can assess through quantitative measures, etc. So fetch the past risk analysis information from the PHAs, LOPAs or QRA and look at what was the base level and evaluate what is the new risk level. And as a company, it is always a good practice to have a predefined level of reporting in such situations. So now at the base level, this technical analysis is done, who to report and who are empowered to take decisions, those have to be predefined. And what are the interim measures one needs to take till the restoration happens to normalcy. And if these interim measures are good enough and strong enough, that needs to be demonstrated as well. In case of any permanent changes that may be required, we have to follow the management of change program. Some of the samples to understand this whole problem statement. Bypass of an interlock. So, for example, an interlock which is supporting the overpressure protection of a particular column, distillation column, that needs repair. As part of the routine inspection and testing program, some of the components were found to be malfunctioning. So proactively they've identified that needs a prolonged outage of the particular interlock system. So what do we do with it? The ideal situation is that we fetch the past PHA records and, if possible, LOPA records, and estimate, if we pull out this particular interlock, what is the residual risk level, the elevated residual risk level, where are we, if it is tolerable or intolerable as per the company criteria. If it is tolerable, then the company may choose to have a higher level of operation monitoring on a human barriers to manage the risks. If the risk is intolerable, we may choose to embed alternate hardware or stronger barriers till the interlock is restored. But if we still believe that the risk is going much higher, it is a judgment call, of course, then we may choose to take the unit down, repair this whole loop, and then only restore operations. Right? This is one use case. The second is, due to certain logistics or dispatch concerns, the inventory of material, hazardous material, toxic material, let's say, the site practices say that this is the level of inventory you shall manage at the site. But when it comes to this situation, you need to operate with a higher level of inventory. Whether you can run this way, or you need to stop operations, whether you need to somehow dispose of or destroy this hazardous inventory or safely, that is a choice to be made. And it is not very easy. Every decision of such nature also involves money, which is also important for business. So here in this case, we may use the past consequence analysis or a QRA study output, rerun with the new inventory situation, demonstrate the increased risk level, whether it is okay or not. So the decision makers, as per the predefined policy, they will take a call based on informed decision. This also calls for a situational awareness. Can we wait for a decision? How long can we wait? Waiting, does it mean an escalation in the risks? That needs to be completely assessed. It is not adequate that we only look at the papers and take decisions. That is important. And what are some of challenges in handling the elevated risk situations? They typically offer less time for decision making. You can spend weeks together, months together to do a HAZOP otherwise. But when it comes to the elevated risk situation, it might be an urgency. People can't wait, the operations can't wait. And risk analysis may be ignored. But when it comes to the operability or sustained operations, we may think that the risk analysis is just a side activity, which is a challenge in itself. Situations may not be envisaged. So you need more expertise and more knowledge coming in. So you might be completely new to the situation. Then the key decision makers may not be available. It could happen in silent hours where you need to take decisions within a few minutes or hours. So that is another challenge. So some of the good practices to tackle all of these, very, very important. Keep risk analysis information accessible to the asset facing crew. It cannot be kept in shelves. It should be usable. Maintain risk analysis and operating integrity expertise or competencies with these asset facing teams. Not withholding the statement that the leadership also should understand this information fully. Competency is a very, very critical thing in making the real-time decisions, because the past knowledge or experience may not hold good in all the cases. So situational awareness, again, to reiterate here, and have environment where leadership empowers asset facing crew. So there should not be any conflicting priorities, that we write in the procedure that you can take an emergency shutdown, but in practice it is different. Then the decisions may or may not happen quickly. Pause before execution. Drive to utilize the risk assessments for estimating new risk levels. Always make it a standard protocol that you shall put it through a risk analysis and then only put it for a decision, without which a paper should not go for any immediate decision. Avoid lengthy approval process. You cannot be bureaucratic too much in this kind of dynamic risk situation, but always you should have one or two independent eyes who can always oversee how things are going. And leverage digital tools. Today we have n number of platform solutions, cloud-based solutions, always also for the hazardous facility, where we can leverage, where the data collection time is less, but decision making time is more. So this is a very intelligent way and smart way to utilize the time of everybody in operating the hazardous facilities. And with all of this technical risk analysis, we only want to imbibe a sense of chronic unease among the teams to continually improve the process safety. So that is all I had for today. So summarizing, risk analysis is not supposed to be only reports for submission. They got to get used in the day-to-day operations for making decisions and intelligent decisions. Thank you.